And so for me, that's not a story. When you start getting different answers, then I'm not getting the actual story. And they're assessing it. And I get that as well. You have to a little bit of grace. We're in this emergency environment and everything else. So I just want to determine the facts. But no one has any patience anymore. In this weaponized, back to the grievance of Trump, everyone else, people, there's immediacy. And lies travel the proverbial world.
There is no unity in lying to you. There's unity in understanding what happens and who's at fault so we can fix it. And they try to say, the Republicans are politicizing. You guys are talking about climate change. Every time there's a natural disaster, you talk about climate change. You guys are politicizing. You put in discount code SEAL20, get 20% off. If you're a part of the Tatum Squad, obviously we sent in the community tab a greater discount, and we'll continue to give special things to the people that are a part of the Tatum Squad. If you want to join the Tatum Squad, you can join it today. Obviously, there's 2 tiers. We updated the tiers on Tatum Squad, so take a look at that. But here's some of our brand new merch. We got some of these products here. All right, my favorite shirt is the Trump dance. We got a whole bunch of stuff, hats, all of the above. We have it. Now, the doormat is my absolute favorite. We sold out of this within 30 minutes. However, if you want the doormat, we're producing them right now as we speak, and you hit notify me when made available if you get to this to notify. There's nearly 1,000 people that have hit notify when made available. I'm telling you right now, when we make it active, we don't have 1,000. So we're going to have a small amount that we can do at a time, so we don't have a big back stock of thousands of these things, and then people ain't getting them for months. All right, so if you go down here, you'll see the section where the Los Angeles run by Democrats. You'll see this, and it says 100% of the profits donated to victims and fire departments affected by this Los Angeles crisis. So you can go on and click on this, buy as much as you want, as much as you can. All the proceeds will go. I'll let you guys know in the community tab how much money we have as proceeds from that product, and then I'm gonna let you know where we're gonna disperse it. Gavin Newsom blamed Trump for misinformation. Show how silly he is. Because y'all didn't get a chance to watch him in his fullness. We saw a clip of this on the Ver, and we know the Ver ain't got no real Vers. All right, roll the clip.
President-elect Trump has blamed you for this crisis. He called you incompetent. What's your response?
Well, I called for him to come out, take a look for himself. We want to do it in the spirit of an open hand, not a closed fist. He's the president-elect. I respect the office. We have a president of the United States that within 36 hours provided a major disaster declaration over a text. We had support from the president of the United States, Joe Biden, with 100% reimbursement, all the resources you could hope for or imagine, constant communication. I'd like to extend that to the president-elect. I don't know what he's referring to when he talks about the Delta smelt and reservoirs. The reservoirs are completely full. The state reservoirs here in Southern California. That mis and disinformation, I don't think advantages or aids any of us. Responding to Donald Trump's insults, we would spend another month. I'm very familiar with them. Every elected official that he disagrees with, very familiar with them.
We do know, though, from reporting here locally that one reservoir that serves the Palisades was not full.
And that's exactly what triggered my desire to get the investigation. To understand what was happening with that well.
He just lied. That snake oil salesman. I didn't watch the clip. How are you such a snake? He just said that Donald Trump is pushing misinformation. He had his snake oil pouring. It was pouring smooth. It was going right into the jug. He pouring the snake oil. And then the truth came out. Well, no, the reservoir that was supposed to be associated with the Palisades, it was dry. But that's why I'm doing an investigation. No. You said Trump lied about reservoirs not being full. You said he lied. Your snake oil was flowing. And then the truth came out, and you can't lie because it's public record. And now you want to investigate. What you investigating? You said it was full. Did you know? Do you know it or do you not know it? Are you telling the truth or you're lying? You can't be doing both. Roll the clip.
Reservoir that was not a state system reservoir, which the president-elect was referring to as it relates to the Delta and somehow connecting the Delta smelt to this fire, which is inexcusable because it's inaccurate, also incomprehensible to anyone that understands water policy in the state.
But where the fire was at, the reservoir for that was empty. Like, what are you saying? That's a clear. Get the other clip ready. That's a clear indication of what they call gaslighting. That's a narcissist that says things like that. You know the spirit I don't know if Donald Trump is wrong about this. I didn't listen specifically, and I haven't done an investigation into it. But I do know that a lot of things Donald Trump said is correct, and that's one of them about the Palisades Reservoir. Regardless of that, what narcissistic people do, and people who are gaslighting you, they try to make you wrong in an argument in which they're already wrong in. He knows that it was a failure by public officials to not have sufficient amount of water in that region that could have saved lives and could have helped mitigate the fire. But he know that he's wrong in that. He know that that's the overarching problem. Nobody cares about necessarily how water in the reservoir affect the state where there's no fire at. People are talking about where the fire's at. This is the reservoir we talk about. We don't care about the one that's not servicing a fire. Nobody knows about that one. It's the one when you go to the freaking fire hydrant, ain't nothing coming out. It's just going no water. That's the one, Gavin. You know that's the one we talking about. But you want to snake all around it. Him on the interview trying to save face, wrote a clip.
Just before we started recording, you invited Donald Trump to come here to Los Angeles, see the devastation. You said the hundreds of thousands of Americans displaced from their homes and fearful for the future deserve to see us all working together in their best interests, not politicizing a human tragedy and spreading disinformation from the sidelines. So this is after Trump blamed you for the fires. He says it's the fault of water mismanagement. Your initial response to that was, I have a lot of thoughts and I know what I want to say. I won't. Yeah. It seems like you're trying to walk a very fine line here, extending an open hand to Trump as you signed your letter, but also calling him out for spreading disinformation. Is that because you have concerns that he might withhold disaster assistance when he becomes president?
He's been pretty straightforward about that. He's tried to do it in the past. He's not just done it here in California. He's done it in states all across the country. I mean, he did it in Puerto Rico. He did it even in Utah. He did it in Connecticut. In other states, Georgia, he got upset. What the president-elect was saying about state water project and the Delta smelt somehow being culpable of somehow leading to some of the challenges that we face down here it's words. It's a salad. It's the form and substance of fog. It's made up. It's delusional. And it's a consistent mantra from Trump going back years. And it's reinforced over and over within the right wing. And so it's become gospel. And it's so profoundly ignorant. And yet he absolutely believes it. It's not an ignorance on his part. It's sort of an indelible misinformation that he sort of manifested, a falsehood.
So the reservoir for the Palisades was empty. You're going to do an investigation into what? Where does the reservoir for the Palisades get their water from? Is it hooked to the state system or is it not? Is it a statewide functionality? Is it something that the governor should know how it functions and where the water is going and where it's going to come in, to make sure that he can hold mayors accountable to protecting the public? So you're going to do an investigation into what? Because if you understand how the state system works, water system, and you're saying that the state water system had nothing to do with that, then you don't need to do an investigation because you know that it was empty because of X. But the water don't come from up under the ground. It has a source. What source is that water coming from? Now, we're going to find out that the source comes from a state-run reservoir distribution. I guarantee you, I don't know this to be a fact, but I guarantee you we're going to find out that that's where it came from. And he's going to use this idea of we need to investigate to try to cover his butt because he should know that it has everything to do with probably the smelt and all this other stuff that was mismanaged on the state level and matriculated down to the city level. I can almost guarantee. And him saying that Donald Trump, and he claimed he's going to do an investigation, that Donald Trump is superfluous in his messaging, but you don't even know why the reservoir was empty. You have to do an investigation. How do you not know that what Trump is saying is not true?
And he decided to bring it into this crisis in a profoundly demeaning and damaging way. I say demeaning to the facts, demeaning to the people that were suffering and struggling, to the kids literally were watching their schools burn down.
You're ultimately responsible, governor of the state.
I mean, of course. I want to know the answers. So I'm the governor of California. I want to know the answer. I've got that question. I can't tell you about how many people, what happened. My own team saying what happened. And I want to get the answers. And I'll be candid with you, I wasn't getting straight answers. I watched the press conference. I met with some of those leaders. We had my team start talking to local leaders saying what's going on. Our state,
and you weren't getting straight answers from the local leaders.
I was getting different answers. And so for me, that's not a story. When you start getting different answers, then I'm not getting the actual story. And they're assessing it. And I get that as well. You have to, a little bit of grace. We're in this emergency environment and everything else. So I just want to determine the facts. But no one has any patience anymore. In this weaponized, back to the grievance of Trump, everyone else, people, there's immediacy. And lies travel the proverbial world. And it's hard, the facts out there, unless you have the backing of those facts and you can communicate them soberly. And so that's what we're trying to achieve.
So, oh man, the more I read books, I'm trying to get better at reading books or listening to audio books. The more I read them, the more I can pick up on snake oil salesmen. And I know what books that they're reading. The book that I just told you, how to win friends and influence enemies, or influence people, win friends and influence people. The very first portion of that book is almost exactly what he's doing wrong. I don't agree with some of the stuff at the beginning of the book, but also in your approach to be reasonable and make amends with people, you have to be authentic. He's not being authentic. When you come out and say, there's a few things that I like to say about Donald Trump, but I'm not going to say them. You just said it. You just said that you just alluded to that you disagree with Donald Trump and you got a lot of harsh things that you want to say, but you're intentionally not saying them. The appropriate way to do it is for you just not to say anything. For you not to even comment on Donald Trump. Don't say that you have a response. Because what happens is when you try to be the person that say, hey, how you doing today? But you don't look a person in the eye. You don't really care how they're doing. You're just doing it because you think you're supposed to do it rudimentarily or rudimentally. I could be saying that very wrong. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You're just saying it just to be saying it. You're not saying it because you mean it. So in order for you to try to make amends or be connected with people and have emotional intelligence, it cannot be a farce. It has to be a genuine approach. So before I tell somebody, how you doing today? Good to see you. I look them in the eye and I tell them that because I mean it. And if it's not good to see you, I'm not going to tell you it's good to see you because I'm not going to mean it. I'd rather just not say or say something else to you that I really mean. How you doing today? Look a person in the eye and be really concerned about how they really doing. Don't try to say things. That's what the snake oil salesman does. They try to say what they think they need to say because it makes them look good. That's not how they really feel. If you have an ought against Donald Trump and the things that he said, don't say, I'm not going to respond to it. I have things to say. I'm not going to say it because then people are going to presume what you might say. You could say, this is specifically the problem that I have with Donald Trump. This is my grievance. It's really that simple. But you could tell he read a book like that because he's trying to implement the things that the book said, but he's so fake that he's doing it in a fake way and not a genuine way. It's okay in a time of crisis for you to pick and choose your words appropriately. So therefore, you don't add more fuel to the fire, for a lack of better terms. You don't want to add more chaos. So in the time of a crisis, maybe you should be more unified. But when people are screwing people over, it compels people to say, there is no unity in lying to you. There's unity in understanding what happens and who's at fault so we can fix it. And they try to say, the Republicans are politicizing. You guys are talking about climate change. Every time there's a natural disaster, you talk about climate change. You guys are politicizing it.